And just before she begins, even right now, for some of you, even the topic of confession is already getting you to think about, man, when was the last time I went? And so we're going to talk about confession, but if you already got this movement in your heart where you know you've got to go right now, we've got priests already available for you. So during this talk, if you feel like you've got to get there now, you need to go. We're going to invite you at any point you can get up out of your seat quietly during the talk, and if you head back to the doors, someone will direct you to where the priests are beginning already for confession.
Thank you. Well, it's such an honor to be here with you all today. And I'm from New Orleans, Louisiana, and I came off the plane, and it was really just so beautiful to see snow. Because in Louisiana, we recently had 2 snow days because it got down to 34 degrees. And that's 1 degree near freezing. And so we had to have 2 snow days because it could have gotten to be freezing. And there was potential that it could have snowed. And so everyone was off for 2 days of school. And I think that like the entire state of Louisiana was just like waited with bated breath, like, do you want to build a snowman? Just like totally, I know, does anybody like Frozen? Anybody's a Frozen fan? Let it snow, don't hold it back anymore. No, I'm just kidding. I'm like a walking Disney princess, sorry. But anyway, sorry for the guys here that don't get that because they aren't into Disney. But anyway, so it was really beautiful to actually come and see real live snow and what it looks like and just not the pretend ice that we make a big deal about in Louisiana. But it is really, really good to be here with you all. And tonight I'm going to be talking about confession and the gift and awesome thing that is. And I want to tell you a little story. A couple years ago, I did an experience for a year. I lived for a year in a lay Catholic community. And basically, it was like living sort of in a religious life. It was like living in a religious community that was cloistered. And I was with people 24/7, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And when I first entered, I met the first girl that I met there. She was an Italian girl, and she kind of had like this afro, frizzy black hair out to here. She was from Sicily, and she was like, "Ciao, I am Chiara," and I'm like, "What?" She's like, "I am Chiara, and I will be with you every day and every night." I was like, "Okay," and I was with her every single day and every single night, and not only her, I was with an entire group of girls every single day and every single night, and I did not have literally one moment to myself. In this community, we ate together, we worked together, we slept together, all the showers were side by side. I mean, I was like, one day I was in adoration, and I was literally like, the only time that I am by myself is when I have to go to the bathroom. Every single waking moment, I am with other people. And after a while, it dawned on me that it was really hard to be with people like that 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It was very, very exhausting because in the world that we live in today, we're not accustomed to that. We live in a world today where we live in a lot of isolation. We're on our phones, we're in our cars, we're on our laptops. We get to do what we want to do when we want to do it. We get lots and lots and lots of alone time, and we're not used to constantly being with others. But it also dawned on me that while it was a little tiring to live this way, it was so much more joyful. And I had a much, much, much deeper joy in my heart than I did living in the world. And I realized that the way that we live in the world today, in this modern way of isolation, is a very empty, empty, empty way of living. And I don't think that it's a surprise that we have a lot of suicide rates, and we have drug addiction going up, and we have young people today struggling with what is the meaning of my life, and they're struggling with sadness, and they're struggling with so many problems that maybe didn't exist 100 years ago, because they feel empty and they feel disconnected. And as human beings, whether we realize it or not, we're made for connection with other people. We're not made to live alone. We're not made to be in solitude for hours and hours and hours on end. We're not made for Facebook. We're not made for iPhones and iMacs and me and my machine. We're made for other people. We're made for family. And if you look at the vocations that God has set up and established for us as human beings, they're vocations and ways of life that involve other people. We come into life in a family. We come into life deeply, deeply connected to other people. And most people either live out their life in family life, or they live out their life in religious life, which involves a different type of family, which involves community life. And I heard recently a priest say that even God lives his life, in family. Even God exists in a family, because the Lord exists in a Trinity. It's Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Even God does not exist in isolation. And that really, really struck me. Because in our world today, we are told that we're supposed to be independent and that we're not supposed to need anyone or anything. And it's a total lie. And it leaves us so empty. Because we're made for connection. We're made for communion. We're made for community. And our hearts come alive when we feel connected, when we don't feel alone. And I've seen that. I've seen that in my own life, and I've seen that in other people's lives. And just like that is true for us very concretely, in our physical, material lives, within this material realm that we live in, that's also true for us spiritually, that we're not made spiritually to live in isolation. We're made for connection with God. We're made for unity with Him, whether we realize it or not. And I've seen again and again in my own life, when I go days, or when I start to have a period of time where I start to drift away from God slowly, maybe I'm not praying as much, or I'm not talking to God as much, I'm not spending as much time with Him, in prayer and Mass and the sacraments, this little bit of sadness starts to kind of creep up into my heart, and it starts to slowly grow and grow and grow, and suddenly I feel this emptiness inside of me, because I feel alone within my heart, within my spirit, within my soul, because we're made for God. We're made to be united to Him. And when we're not united to Him, we start to fall apart. We start to feel empty inside. And we start to look for other things to fill us. We start to go to drugs. We start to go to alcohol. We start to go to food. We start to go to sex. We start to go to TV. We start to go to shopping. We start to go to anything to make us feel connected, to make us feel safe, to make us feel understood, to make us feel loved. And there's only one place where we're going to find that home that we're looking for, that place, that grounding that we're looking for, and it's in the Father's love. Because that's who we're made for. And we can spend our whole lives running around in circles. And a lot of people do. It's sad. A lot of people lead tragic lives. It's so sad. And they don't find the answer. It's this actor, what's his name? Philip Seymour something? Hoffman. Recently died of a heroin overdose. He had the whole world at his fingertips. And he never knew what he was really made for. Trying to fill the void with a high. Perfect example. What a tragic, tragic life. And there are too many stories like that. Too many people haven't heard the truth. They haven't known the truth. They haven't embraced the truth. They haven't understood what they're truly made for, because we're made for one thing alone, and it's God. It's God. And we forget so easily. I forget so easily. I go about my life, and I go about and I get seduced by the world all the time, and I forget that I'm a child of God. And that what I am made for with God, first and foremost, is a relationship. It's not just some abstract idea. It's a relationship. It's a personal relationship. And what do you do when you have a personal relationship with someone? Think about it. What do you do when you have a personal relationship with a friend with a boyfriend, with a sister, with a brother, with a mother, with a father. You spend time with that person. You're honest with that person. You communicate with that person. You talk to that person. You don't just like have a passing thought every once in a while about that person. And if we have that kind of relationship with God, where every once in a while we think about him, every once in a while we tell him hi, that's a really superficial relationship. In fact, it's not a relationship at all. And that emptiness inside us remains. But we're called to something much, much deeper. We're called to a deep, deep, deep connection with God. It's a real relationship where we talk to him, where we're transparent with him, where we can be ourselves with him. We can be honest with him. We don't hide with him. Where we can be a child before him. He's our best friend. He's our lover. He's our everything. Where he knows us. He already knows us, whether we know it or not. But where we can experience that feeling known by him. And that, at the end of the day, is what confession is really all about. It's about going to God and just getting honest. It's about going to God and just being vulnerable. Going to God and just being raw. Going to God and just taking away the mask, the lies. And we don't go to confession for God's sake. We go to confession for our sake. You know, think about if you had a friend and suddenly you started to withdraw slowly from this friendship. You kind of just started talking to this friend less and less. And then let's say you were doing some things that you knew this friend wouldn't approve of. And you really didn't want to tell this best friend about it, this person who was your best friend. So you started kind of lying to this friend. And you're just kind of slowly taking a step back, slowly from this friendship. And slowly, you're just telling this friend less and less about your life. Because you don't feel comfortable with this friend anymore. Because you're slowly and gradually, you're keeping more and more lies from this friend. And you're feeling more and more shame. And so you're hiding more and more.